Welcome, everybody, to another Goal Achievement Mastery Sunday Mastermind. And this is sponsored by my little company, Integrative Wellness and Development, LLC. I'm Mike DeLuca. I'm your host. And tonight we have a really interesting discussion about are you willing to settle for the crumbs or do you want to eat the whole box? And I do have to give the disclaimer that tonight's session, as are all my sessions, as are all my products and all of my events, they are not affiliated with any organization, program, or person other than me and my company, Integrative Wellness and Development, and my Your 9 Steps program in specifically. So had to get all of that out of the way so everybody knows who I am, what I am, where I am, how I am, and why I am. And we can get started with our topic of discussion. So how many people had a chance to see that post on Facebook with my beautiful little friend Ruby, who was our little miniature English Bull Terrier? She lived with us from 2010 to 2019 and then passed away in 2019, but I have many, many inspiring pictures of her, which I am pulling out of my vault, and I will be using those pictures on Facebook because she really was quite an inspiring and instructional little soul. And so I pulled out one where I had a box of crackers, and they were on the floor next to the chair I was sitting in, and Ruby walked over and usually I give her one little cracker because I like to share. But I turned my back and she said, dog, box, crackers, why not? Nose. she dove into the box and got all the crackers, but got stuck in the box. But the point was she made a decision. Was I going to settle for just one handout? Was I going to settle for the crumbs? Or am I at the point in my life where, you know what, I'm going for the gold. I'm going for the whole box. And Ruby was that kind of dog that went for the whole box. And so my question was to myself and then to the rest of us, are you willing to just settle for the crumbs that other people or life itself or institutions or, employers or cultures that we live in tell us we should be satisfied with, or that that's all we deserve, or that that's all we are capable of dealing with or earning or have? Okay, raise your thumbs. Has anyone ever felt that they were only worthy of having the crumbs and not the whole box? Or has anyone ever had somebody else cause them to feel that way? Raise your thumbs. Yes. Okay. This is part of a long series of negative self-beliefs and negative paradigms that I call part of the immaculate misconception. And that is when we accept a state of limitation because of either programming that we have done for ourselves or programming that others have done for us. And so what happens is we become more comfortable playing small. We become more comfortable settling for less. So I wanted to jump into some of the neurology, some of the behavior psychology, and also some of the interesting things that are going on in neurological research right now, and then bring a tie back to what can we do about that right now. And by the way, I want to apologize because this iPad has the camera on when you're long rise, it's on the side. So I'm looking at you and I'm looking at me, but the camera's over here. So my eyes are looking over there. So I'm not trying to ignore you. It's just the camera's in a weird place. So let's get started. The whole reason, I started with this, crumbs and box was that Maybeth and I were having this discussion. She's seeing this really excellent physical therapist. And he's been working with her, helping her work out some pain and some neurological, pathways, that old ones that continue to create effect in her body. And this is a whole new branch of physical therapy, or in other parts of the world, they call it physiotherapy, but it's part of neurological physical therapy. And some of the exciting things that they found in neurological physical therapy is you may have had a traumatic event 10 years ago that damaged your body, that created an injury in your brain, or an injury in your spine, or an injury in your skeletal system, or severe muscular trauma, right? You may have had this trauma. And over time, you worked to heal that, right? And eventually, the cause of the trauma, the actual cause of it, the systemic cause of it, was gone. But because that trauma was very traumatic and it was pretty serious, it imprinted a circuit in the brain of this communication, this broadcast from the brain down through the nervous system to that muscle or to that part of the body, let's say that joint that was severely injured. And it's sending this signal: be careful, don't do too much, you're really inflamed, you are hurt, and don't hurt yourself more, right? It's a self-defense mechanism. So this broadcast is happening every day, every day, every day. Now, eventually, the systemic cause of that pain heals and disappears. But here's the problem, okay? That radio broadcast has been happening so frequently that it has now been accepted by our nervous system as still real, right? It's like a phantom pain. The pain only exists in our memory and in our brain is signaling to the muscles and joints, you're injured, you're injured, you're injured. And therefore, the muscles and the joints are acting as they have accepted this as a reality. So you ask, Mike, why are you babbling about neurological physical therapy? Well, we can look at the same situation that happens when we have attempted in our life to do something big, to try something new, to move forward in our finances, to move forward in our careers, to move forward in our relationships, right? And we have this goal and we really, really want it. And we start moving forward with it and we start acting on it. And then we get shot down. Boom, 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 right? And that creates a very traumatic memory. And what then begins to happen is when we try it again next time, we're trying it, but we're kind of like now just 1 foot in the water because now we've been shot down. We're kind of afraid of it happening again. We still have the memories and the trauma and the embarrassment of it not working out. So now we're a little more hesitant and we start, investing only like 50% instead of 110% of going all in. We're scared. So we're not investing 100%. We're kind of hedging our bet. And so we only put 50% in because we want to be able to run back when it looks like it's going to fail, right? Just like, you enter a place in the world and there's a beast there. And at first you run towards the beast and it just swats you down. And you say, oh, next time I run in there, I may not run right up to the beast. I may go halfway, see what it's going to do, and then retreat, right? So now this fight or flight mechanism, this, the reptilian part of our brain is now really into this defense, right? I want to defend myself from looking like an idiot. I want to defend myself from failure. I want to defend myself from feeling, negative and have a low self-esteem, right? So now all of a sudden we begin to get into the habit of playing small, of playing 50%, of playing out of fear and making our decisions out of fear. And then what begins to happen is what's called self-fulfilling prophecy. And any, raise your thumbs if you've ever heard of that, right? You see it a lot in relationships. Let's say you had a relationship and you really loved this person and you really saw an amazing future, but it didn't work out. They shot you down and it was over, right? It was over and it hurt, right? And your confidence was really affected, right? So now you have this voice inside saying, I'm not doing too well in relationships. So the next time I have a relationship, I'm gonna like over try, over deliver, over protect, right? I don't want to lose this next one. And so what starts to happen, right? What starts to happen is, you start going overboard, you start smothering that person because in the back of your mind, you're hearing, oh, she's going to leave me. She's going to leave me. I better do this. I better do that. She's going to leave me. She's going to leave me. And what happens? Self-fulfilling prophecy. Eventually you upset that person and you chase them away because in the back of your mind, you're saying, I got to defend myself. I have to defend my feelings because in the end, me, she's going to leave me because I'm just damaged goods, right? And then, this starts to happen over and over and over in relationships until you find somebody who really sees you for who you are, loves you for who you are, and you drop those defenses and you stop playing defensive ball and you start playing all in with your whole heart, right? You know what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you see how this neurological part of us kind of teams up with our psychology of wanting to avoid pain and head towards pleasure. And we build sort of this neurological pathway of pending doom, right? Pending failure, right? Self-fulfilling prophecy. And eventually, you have that message being sent from the brain to the body that no matter how healed you actually are, as far as I'm concerned, you're in pain. And we start feeling this pain. Well, it's the same thing, right? It's the same thing when we make a choice that we want the whole box of crackers, right? We are in a point in our lives where we're tired of settling for survival. We're tired of settling for just getting by. Right? We're tired of settling for what others say we deserve and are willing to take the chance, make the plan, take the risk to do the little things day by day by day to have a different life. And because we're willing to change ourselves, we're willing to change our own mental picture of who and what we are and what we deserve. As we start to change our own pictures, the message from our brain and the message from our mind and the message from our memory begins to change. And when that begins to change, that's when our life changes. Okay. So I wanted to use this big metaphor, of this scientific piece of neurological physical therapy because it's real science. And I think it really helps us wrap, our mind around what, we're trying to do here when we're trying to play bigger. So I came up with this concept today of reversing trauma into dharma, changing trauma into dharma, right? Instead of reacting to a past trauma, focus on living a life that produces positive results, that is truer to your potential and truer to your sense of self-image, self-worth, and who you can be and truly are. So that's dharma. Dharma is right living, right? It's living the right life. It's changing our thoughts, words, actions into ones that reflect our higher purpose and our higher self. So think about that from time to time. Am I focusing on trauma, or am I paying attention to dharma? Right? And they rhyme, right? How much cooler can it be because they rhyme, right? Change trauma into dharma. So remember that. That's going to be one of my mantras, right? If I find myself, getting into that place where you become a drama queen, everything is a soap opera, oh, woe is me. When you start getting into that drama from trauma, turn it around and turn it into dharma, right? Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to stop here and I'm going to ask for input from you on number one, if it makes sense, how do you feel you could apply it right now in your life? Let's kind of talk about application. So go ahead, unmute yourself and tell me a little bit about how you would apply this right now in your life. Mark, go ahead.
Well, I think it's partly recognizing the state of consciousness, the awareness that is so limiting. When you are seeing yourself as somehow not your best self, not your higher self, not your self-actualized self. So you're sensing, like the word that I sometimes hear is, or the words is, I can't. And I'm always amazed because if I bring my attention to it, it's like, what do you mean I can't? I absolutely can, but it's an old program. And so just to be aware of it is like 90% of the battle. And so there's certain little techniques and things I use to step into, a higher state and buy into the recognition that I can, and I will, or I am.
Yeah. But beautiful. Mark, you brought up such an important point, and that is the thoughts we have transfer into the language we use, which transfers into our own self-beliefs. And that then affects our actions and our achievements. So brilliant point that you brought up about just changing the way we think and say things can have a dramatic effect on our ability to can do instead of accepting that we cannot, right? Language is really important. So excellent point there. Who else? Who else has a great example like what Mark just brought up? See, I'm already assuming it's a great example. See, I chose those words specifically. So now I want to hear how the next person reacts to that and what that makes them think. So who has the next great example?
I don't see myself on the screen, so.
But I can hear you.
Okay. So what I've been doing is, when I feel myself getting upset or angry, reminding myself of the illusion behind it.
Brilliant.
Because usually I find more and more lately just becoming more and more conscious of just how much illusion there is in my life that my mind makes up and causes me to spin into this what you call drama king or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And
so if I can just stop and breathe and relax and I think it's working more and more.
Yeah.
Because I'm becoming more and more conscious.
Yep.
That I'm hooked.
You're becoming right. You're becoming more conscious about a part of you that is attached to reacting that way. that's more comfortable reacting that way than being comfortable choosing an alternative, right? But just by stopping, by taking a breath and stopping and looking at the situation from a detached viewpoint, you have already taken control of the situation. So you're already winning, right? Because you chose to stop and act a specific way that was different from the pattern of reaction. And see, it's important that we give ourselves credit for these little teeny steps, because in the bigger picture of things, these little teeny steps are massive, right? They're massive in their effect and in their value to us. So we need to value ourselves. We need to give ourselves credit for every tiny step we take each day. This is, again, part of the sneakiness of the Goal Achievement Mastery Journal, right? It breaks your day. It breaks every day into little tiny specific decisions that create momentum towards becoming that which you have a desire to become and achieving that which you have a desire to become, and support a new state of being, a new state of consciousness that you want to achieve by little tiny actions that are repeated over and over and over. The things to do, the things not to do, the people to hang with, the people to avoid. What will make today amazing? What are my values? What am I grateful for? All of those things that are in that journal are specifically there to help you change those patterns, build new ones that are constructive rather than destructive. And they create a momentum, right? So excellent point, Marvin, and give yourself that credit. Real important. That's a win.
So isn't all fear, doesn't all fear have a certain element of what you've been describing tonight? That it all comes from a kind of a false part of ourselves that was smashed down at some point.
Yeah, we received some sort of traumatic experience, and traumatic experience can be, we were insulted, something we tried didn't work out, and people say, oh, you failed, or you know what, you're not that bright, or whatever, you don't have any hair, whatever it is that somebody said or did, or we said and did to ourselves, and it sticks, right? We then have the tendency to want to run away from anything that's going to bring up that negative experience again, right? So if we have an opportunity to try something new and potentially succeed at a higher level than we've ever succeeded before, but it's scary, we may allow our fear, we may allow our reptilian brain to cause us to not do it or do it less than 100% and have that self-fulfilling prophecy that when we fail at it, we say, see, I knew I was going to fail at it because I can't do this. I'm not smart enough, this enough, that enough, right? So what was happening is our brain was running away from the opportunity to succeed, or to at least understand that whether I win, lose, or draw, I win because I'm learning. I'm growing in experience. I'm trying new things. And tomorrow I will be way different and way more knowledgeable than I was yesterday and the day before. See, we need to take, the Asians have this, they have this viewpoint because their cultures are so old. They think 100, 1,000, 10,000 years, right? They look at something over a 10,000 year period or a 1,000-year period. And they look at, okay, how can we make little teeny tiny things? Because in 100 years or 1,000 years, we're going to own everything. We're going to win everything, right? Because we have the patience and we have the knowledge to do little tiny things a little at a time where you don't even know what we're doing, but eventually we win, right? The Western mind doesn't think that. It has a vending machine mind. It has an internet mind. I want to press the button. I want instant success. I want an instant cupcake to come out of the vending machine, right? We're so conditioned to that, right? So we want to change that. We want to change that. Nancy, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I was actually, I had an experience right before 7. My neighbors invited me over and said, come over to our deck. We put a TV out. We'll watch the game. We invited some few other people over, but bring over your own chair and we're not going to wash it for you. I'm like, well, what? So anyway, I went over. No one else had to bring their own chair, just me. And they were, and then there was a lot of like digs to me through the time I was visiting. And I remembered, and I thought, okay, there's got to be a gift in here somewhere. There's got to be something I'm learning. There has to be. So I wasn't mad at them or annoyed with them at all. It was more like, what do I have to learn? And I remembered the crumbs. It came like just flooding to me, the crumbs. And I just started thinking, well, wait a minute. Of all the people and beings I know, there's so much love out there. This is not the life that I want to be given the crumbs. And I wasn't annoyed with them. I was grateful for the lesson. I wasn't annoyed with them at all. And at halftime, I said, I really have to leave. I had to get ready for a class tonight. And I left. And then it just came flooding to me. All the people who called me yesterday and today who wanted to get together with me, who love me. I was like, oh, I don't need to accept that limiting thing about love. I mean, it seemed like silly little thing, but it was actually really giant size to me because I was saying, no, if I am love and life is love, and that's not love, then I don't want to choose the not love, and I was actually laughing to myself by the end of it all. So, but I saw the picture with your sweet dog in the box while I was going through this. So thank you. It helped me today.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's wonderful. Yeah, perfect example of loving ourselves enough to not accept the crumbs. Loving ourselves enough to know that we deserve to be treated the way we need to be treated and should be treated, right? And by respecting ourselves enough, people just kind of fall into that pattern of they start doing to you what you do to yourself, right? If you knock yourself, slam yourself, insult yourself, people do that to you because they're seeing you do it to yourself. They're feeling you do it to yourself. But the people who walk into a room and as soon as they enter the room, their energy commands the room, right? Do you know people like that? Right? Think about people like that. Think about people like that and recognize, if you're recognizing their energy, if you're recognizing the effect they have when they walk into that room, not that they're boastful or, conceited, or it's just they have this power of confidence, self-love, and love of others, and they are completely comfortable in their power. And they are completely comfortable in accepting what they deserve, right? Because they've given themselves that love and acceptance, right? And so if we do that for ourselves, that's what happens. I saw this quote on Facebook and I just loved it. And that was, if I am sent into hell, right? If it's my destiny to be sent to hell, to go and walk into the gates of hell, I will willingly do it, and then I'm going to own that place, right? That attitude, right? If I have to go through the gates of hell, I'll gladly go, but I'm telling you right now, when I get there, I'm going to own the place.
Yeah.
Make this mine, right? And that's the attitude that we can have about life, and that we can have about these situations when we get into that negative self-talk, right? Is whatever situation I'm put into, I have enough confidence in me, right? And now this brings up the next part of getting to have the whole box. And that is other people, and oftentimes our own weak self-image causes us to always look at where we fail, causes us to look at what we lack, causes us to look at how we compare to other people who we think are better, stronger, smarter, richer, more successful, right? We're constantly making those comparisons, okay? But that is not very productive. It's not very productive. So what's really important is changing that view of lack, changing that view of not that successful because maybe I don't have what that person has, or I don't have this or that or this, and to go and start building a resume of past success that becomes transferable confidence. And I've talked about this quite a bit. Every day, it's important when we are faced with doing something new, doing something we're not that confident about, or doing something we are just scared about, right? Stop. Use your memory, your vice president of memory, use your memory to go back and look at all the times you were successful doing something, right? Hey, we were all successful in turning on Zoom today and being able to get on this call, right? There are millions of people who can't do that, right? You might as well be asking them, to build an anti-gravity device, right? So you can do that, right? At some point in your life, you learned how to tie your shoes, right? At some point in your life, you learned how to ride a bicycle. I didn't learn how to ride a bicycle till I was 18 years old because I had failed so many times. I was afraid of doing it because I was afraid of getting hurt and afraid of looking stupid. So 18 years old, a friend of mine lived on the top of this hill, right? And he put me on his son's bicycle. He said, Mike, come here. This is great. Because he was an aerospace engineer, right? He worked on the Apollo program with my dad. He said, Mike, this is great. It's physics, man. Okay, I'm going to put you on the bike, right? And you're going to go really, really fast down the hill. And the bike is going to stay up all by itself. It's magic, right? All you have to do is pedal really fast and you'll keep the bike up, right? So I trust this guy. He's a rocket scientist for real, right? Mm-hmm. So he puts me on the bike, right? And he throws me down this hill and I'm zooming down the hill and I'm saying, I'm flying, right? But then all of a sudden, airspeed equals life in flying and in riding a bike. And my airspeed was starting to, bleed off. And he's yelling, pedal, 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 pedal. So I pedal, but he didn't tell me how to stop. And so I pedal, fly, and I smashed right into fence at the bottom of the hill, right? But I got up, and even though I was bruised and bloody, I was excited because I learned the secret of riding the bike. Even at 18 years old, it wasn't too late, right? It wasn't too late because to conquer something you've never been successful doing before, you need to understand the laws and the rules. You need to prepare yourself with tiny little details of setting up the right plan, taking the right action, and have the right mentor, the right coach, and be willing to do it, even if you're going to look stupid, even if you're going to hurt yourself, even if you're going to crumble in a ball at the bottom of the hill. You will succeed eventually. And then your entire paradigm changed. My paradigm changed where suddenly the embarrassment, the lack of self-worth, right, I had because I was 18 years old and I didn't know how to ride a bicycle. That's like one step up from not knowing how to tie my shoes, right? So I was carrying that around until this rocket scientist said, I can solve that problem. Here, get on the bike and go down the hill, right? I didn't look pretty. It certainly didn't feel pretty. It was painful. But my paradigm inside of me changed forever because it wasn't about, I can't do this. I just didn't know how to do it right. And somebody taught me. Somebody first gave me the experience of what it feels like to do it right, then taught me the intricacies of how to do it right, and then taught me what I needed to do to repeat that right over and over and over again. And then I felt like I won. I felt like I had this, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand how this applies to what we're talking about? Janine. Hi, Janine.
Hi there. I'm so glad to be here. Usually I have something else on, so I didn't have it on tonight and I was able to come. I've been having an interesting experience in, this is really confidence building about another part that's not damaged. I guess we could call it spirit, right? That can access at any time and give coaching. So I have a really mundane example. I have a water fountain, water bowl for my cats because cats like flowing water. And the pump got clogged and was broken. I couldn't get it to pump. So I called the pet store where I bought it and they said, no, we don't carry it anymore. And it went on to Amazon and it was going to be a lot of money to buy it. And I was like, oh no, do I buy a new fountain or do I buy the filter or what am I going to do? And I got this inner part, I call it spirit, that said something very strange. I would have never thought of this myself. I have a product called Basic H, which is an enzymatic cleanser. And it said, just soak the pump in the Basic H. I was like, I'm learning not to resist that, right? That when that guidance comes to do it. So sure enough, I soaked it for a couple of hours and boom, there it works. So, it's that part and even that part that wants to do something. Who is it that wants to do this great goal? Like what part? And if that desire is coming up, then it's got to be supported by something. So that's, just a simple story of a confidence booster that I've been working with.
It's a beautiful story, Janine, and you're bringing up something extremely valuable, and that is, in the end, all of the impulses for us to be more about what we truly are capable of being, for us to be the greatest version of ourselves in this life, right? That all comes from that higher essence, right? It's inspiring us because it has a bigger vision of us than we do, right? It already sees us as having achieved that incredible, vast capability, that and destiny that we all have, that destiny of reaching great heights, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically, right? We all have that destiny. So it's really important to understand that inspiration is coming from a very high place that actually knows more about us than we know about ourselves, right? So why not trust it, work with it, and talk with it, and make it a partner, and implement all of the techniques you've had to make connections with it, to bring it into the process, right?
I just
Cool.
add to Mike that I realized that it's getting whatever we want to call that is having its experience through us. So it's not like we're just a minor part in it. It's a partnership.
It's an equal partnership. Absolutely. Equal partnership. Thank you, Janine. That's awesome. Luba, you were very patient. Thank you, Luba.
Oh, it's been worth the wait. I mean, wonderful things being shared, inspiring. So thanks, everyone. This is sort of like a sideways track. These times are requiring us to make decisions, and it's not easy.
Yep.
One of my jobs, it came out of the blue. They had a lot of requirements of what you have to show for proof of, and I don't want to go into it. And it was a deal breaker for me. I said, okay, I can't do this. And after getting over the shock and realizing this is my truth, and I'm not messing with it, I'm going with this. It was so empowering. So that was Tuesday. Friday, I had a meeting with a director who incidentally was very supportive. She said, I'm teaching piano at a community music school as an independent contractor. So it's not like, this is one of my jobs. And she was very, let's take it a semester at a time. And, I'm going to be doing some online teaching, but my roster has gone like this. And so there are some benefits here. It has freed up some time. And I'm realizing as I'm living with this, there's a huge burst of creativity that's been sparked. And things that were kind of like, I'm going to do this thing. All of a sudden, there's a focus. But actually what I wanted to talk about was my trip down. I'm driving down this 4-lane highway, and a truck passes me, and, a little, logo on the side, and it blew me away. It said deconstruction. I've never seen a deconstruction truck before. Usually it's construction. So telling my brother, he said, "Oh, that's just demolition." And I thought, no, 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 no. This is carefully taking it apart. And I thought, that's exactly what I'm doing here with this aspect of my life. It's not blowing it up and saying, I'm walking away. I had to stand up for what is true for me right now and say, okay, I'm willing to do online if possible. And a couple of people are willing, so great. I have all this free time on 2 days that I normally didn't. So it's a gift. And I'm, as I go through this, it's been a very turbulent week with very little sleep, but all the gifts and messages have been really incredible. And that deconstruction, I think, is an important component here for when we're constructing something, there has to be a space for it. And sometimes we can just walk away, it's done, it's clean, but sometimes we have to deconstruct it before we can move forward, or as we're moving forward. So I just wanted to put that in there. It was just
Great.
One of those messages.
Yeah, it's a great message, and it's right in sync with what we're talking about, because when we face things that we think are impossible or incredibly difficult, if we break it down into the little teeny tiny pieces and focus on one piece at a time, right? Like riding the bike, just get on the bike. Step 1, step 2, go down the hill. Step 3, pedal really fast, right? If we break these things down that seem impossible or difficult into the tiny little pieces, then it's not as threatening to us because it's just a little tiny piece, right? Just a little tiny piece. We need to, it's very valuable for us to be thinking at a microcosm level when we're dealing with macrocosm issues, right? If we try to solve the whole macrocosm at once, it's too overwhelming. If we break that down into a microcosmic view of, I'm just going to look at the little pieces right now, and I will have a victory after victory after victory after victory over these little teeny pieces, right? So awesome. Excellent, Luba. Thank you. Samarit. Hello.
Hi, Mike. Forgive my voice, but I couldn't stop when you said an example of a neurological pattern that needs to be changed to go from defense protection into Dharma. As you know, I made this commitment. I'm going to do whatever I need to do in 3 months to have this particular macrocosmic product online. And then right after making that commitment, I went on vacation first, and then to a wedding. And in fact, the tiny step I had to do was to watch some videos and create segments. And I went through that. I did it. And what happened, and it's when you said, go back to the time of the original trauma, right? It all of a sudden made sense to me. So I did the tiny steps, got my segments, and then my mind went totally blank. I have no idea how to go from the segment to finding the 3 main messages of my course. And when the more you push, the less results you get. So that's where I've been while I've been on vacation and traveling for the wedding. And then I come back from the wedding and I get, really, really sick. I'm coughing. I have no energy. My voice comes and goes. And it was when you said that, I said, oh no, before coming today, back to what the other people were saying about messages from another source. The message I got was, don't even think of this as illness. This is a reset opportunity. You need a reset in order to move forward with the big vision. And I said, oh, okay. And so here I am, and I can't do very much because my physical energy is so small. But then I'm saying it's reset. I don't need a lot of physical energy. And then tonight, I saw exactly where the trauma experience was. So I know where the conclusion to play small came from. And I can see, oh, yeah, I am playing small. Okay, well, what else can I look at? What's the historical data, even of that incident, that can show me a different way to move forward? So that's my share about having located the original laying down of the neurological track. I also have lots of resources to change that track, even from that point. I know what track got laid, but there's a lot more historical data. What about if we lay a different track? That's it.
That's awesome. And our opportunity that we have because of our boardroom exercises and our concepts we've been using over the last year of moving into the future, right? Experiencing the future reality and then reverse engineering it to get to help us bridge those gaps. So for instance, if you were to go into the future in your boardroom, sit down in the future with one of the people who went through your tour, right? In the gallery. And they went through that tour and they had this most amazing experience as you guided them from painting to painting, contemplative exercise to exercise. And then at the end, you looked at what was their aha, right? What was their eureka? What was their experience that transformed them? What was that, right? What was that? And then looked at that is the ultimate goal at the end, that aha, that success, that eureka, right? Once you get really comfortable looking at it and saying, what does it look like? What did they look like? What did their body look like? How were they acting? What were they feeling? What were they saying? What were they doing, right? How did they react to the experience? And then go backwards like, okay, so let's go one step before the end eureka. What were the things they were experiencing that were slowly building the crescendo, right? You know what I mean when I say building the crescendo?
Yes, yes.
You know, we don't just go from A to Z. We go A to B to C to D to E to F to G, et cetera, et cetera. So if we can look at Z and we can reverse engineer from Z backwards to Y to X to W, etc., right? Then your course is laying itself out for you because the whole purpose of the course is to provide experiences for the student to take a journey to experience the benefits they are looking to have in incremental phases that build this crescendo into this aha transformation, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So use that, go into the future, sit down, interview the people who went through the program, right? And actually do that. Take a couple of people who, in your video who went through the program and have them reconstruct for you what they were experiencing, the ahas, the emotions, the realizations, right? And that will help you construct the lessons, right?
Thank you.
You are so welcome. You are so welcome. Where are we? Let's see. Larry and Leah. Hello, hello, hello.
Hi, Mike.
Hello.
Hey, I have both a question and a comment about, looking at the thing in the future and seeing it as already come to being. When I had this experience over something I'm working on right now, what I found was that I really didn't get the clarity about the steps to get there until I had made a commitment that no matter what the steps were, I was committed to it completely. And then all of a sudden, the information just poured in a completely unexpected way.
Wow. Right? Wow. And that's, you have to jump in 100%, right? In order for us to achieve something we've never achieved, we can't do it half anatomic part.
Yep.
We have to do it 100%, right? We have to know that we have to go to that place of starting to say, first of all, I want to, right?
Yeah.
That's step one. I want to. Step two is I can. Step three is I must, right? Right? I want to. I can do it, right? I must do it. I will do it. Right? Those steps, we have to be 100% in each of those levels. But it's cool that we have those levels because we're working ourselves into the momentum, right? But without commitment, it's, a friend of mine said, no marriage or relationship is going to last if you always have one foot out the door ready to leave. If you're going to be ready to give up at the slightest thing that doesn't go perfectly, right? If the person doesn't wake up in the morning looking exactly the way you want them to look, or doesn't say the exact thing you want them to say, right? Or if you've got one foot out the door all the time, you're not all in, and that, nothing is going to work. Nothing is going to work, right? If we want something, if we want to become something, we have to go for it 100%. Any winner, you look at any of the Olympic athletes, and I hate to use that all the time, but I spent time with some, and I've spent time with doctors of Olympic athletes. I went to the Olympic Training Center in New York and in Colorado, and there is no doubt that those people are 110% committed to achieving what they're going to achieve. And that commitment happens every moment of every practice of every day, of every week, of every month, of every year. And that's part of what makes a champion a champion. And we can be champions in our own life, in our own world, but we need to be committed to doing the work. Somebody told me the other day, well, I follow the thing that expect the best and then accept whatever comes. And I said, absolutely. I said, but Phil, put something in the middle of that, and I think you'll get an even bigger picture. Expect the very best, but don't stop trying, and do your very best. And then you accept what comes, right? But if we expect the best, but we're not doing our best, if we expect the best and we're not taking action every single day, how can we expect the best? And are we then willing to accept whatever happens? If we're willing to accept whatever happens and we didn't give it the right effort, it's kind of a cop-out, right? It's kind of a cop-out. We're selling ourselves short. If we're saying, you know what, whatever happens, I'm fine with it. That's a good attitude, but did you give it 100% before you said, oh, whatever happens, I'm detached. I'm willing to accept it. If we're accepting without trying, we're not getting anywhere. It sounds pretty. It sounds really philosophical and really profound. But when the people who make those quotes, what they really mean by that is expect the very best, but do your very best. And then accept what comes after that. The gratitude, right? Hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And what's the worst that can happen after you giving something the very best? It might not work out the way you really thought it would, but I guarantee you, you have moved ahead in experience and in consciousness because you tried. And doing it the next time will be easier. And the process of goal achievement will become more automatic and more natural to you. And that's really important. I wanted to just get someone who didn't have a chance to speak. Let's see. Any hand? Nope. Carol, did you want to say something? Carol Lidstone? No? Okay. Yeah, if you've already spoken, you can go ahead and lower your hand. Marie, Janine. Okay, so I think we're good. And we actually are out of time. So real quickly, I just wanted to review something. Change the limited view of the value we think we have to offer the world and create transferable confidence and transferable success. Number one. Number two, prepare your fields of life for a rich harvest. What does that mean? Make sure you have the best soil, the best seeds, the best fertilizer, you're watering it properly, you have the best exposure to sun, and you've done all the inner preparations of a good farmer, right? Number three, your thoughts, your habits, your words, your knowledge, your actions, and your plans all need to be aligned with what you're trying to achieve. And your desire and willingness and commitment to do it, it needs to be there. Number four, proximity to those who have already achieved eating the whole box of crackers, right? Observe, learn, and adapt those successful habits, actions, and the associations they have with other successful people. Because if you surround yourself with people who are successful in doing what you want to do, and you watch what they do, and you mirror what they do, you'll wind up having results like they have. If we continue to surround ourselves with people who have the same limitations we have right now, who have gone no further than we are or have gone less further than we have, if those are who we are hanging around solely, then we are going to go where we already are. Right? Now, I'm not saying think that you're better than them and just dump them. What I'm saying is make sure if you have a desire and a goal to go somewhere further, make sure you're associating with people who've already been there, right? Don't take financial investment advice from broke people, right? Don't take relationship advice from people who've been divorced 20 times and are still in, tough relationships, right? Surround yourself. There's a concept called proximity is power. Surround yourself. Seek out the people who have the knowledge, experience, and the right habits and learn from them. Invest in yourself. Warren Buffett was interviewed, and person interviewing him asked him, what was the most important investment you ever made in your life? And he's thinking, was it Coca-Cola? Was it, I don't know, BHT Billiton? And Warren Buffett looked this guy in the eye and he said, the most important investment I ever did was in myself. I took the Dale Carnegie course. I studied this personal development program. I studied that personal development. I invested in me first. Because unless you invest in yourself, all the other things you study and try to learn, is that it's not going to work if you haven't done the work on yourself. And that's why I created that journal. That's why I have your 9 Steps program for Goal Achievement Mastery. That's why we have these masterminds. That's why we have the COVID Crisis Comeback Challenge, Secrets of Goal Achievement Mastery. I want to thank you all for coming tonight, for playing to win tonight. Lots of great, sharing. lots of great effort, great stories, great examples. I just continue to be so impressed by you every time we have an opportunity to be together. So keep doing what you're doing, and not only inspire me, inspire others, but inspire yourself. Right? Inspire yourself with who you are and what you're doing. So love you all. Grateful for you all. Thanks for being here. I hope to see you again next weekend. And have a great week. And we'll see you soon.